Get ready to quit the build. The QTB crew is rounding up all the gaming news and hot topics of the week with a little extra something. And here are your hosts, Bruno, Brad, and Nick.
What it do? You are listening to the QTB podcast. I'm your host, Bruno, and with me, we got Nick, we got Brad. We're ready for another awesome episode. Let's go, guys. What it do? What it
Episode
do?
not just say
1,
that.
2, 3. Tell them about it, Brad.
That silent build up to the launch was incredible. We were just like waiting patiently, and it just was like it kept going and going and going.
Okay.
You don't hear it? You don't hear it?
So we don't hear it.
I hear
okay.
it. It gets me amped. I hear it.
Oh, you're getting pumped up. But yeah, so for those of you that don't know, we do record our podcast live. And so during the live stream, Bruno will actually play the intro for our viewers. So meanwhile, me and Brad are just kind of in this purgatory for 15 seconds. And you can see us the pre-show must be amazing because you can see us amping each other up. Trying to get excited, but there's nothing happening. And then we just come in. Go full throttle off of nothing, It's like a silent disco.
It is.
Yeah.
I've never been, but I've seen them on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a UFO. You know what I mean? I've never seen one in person, but I've seen tons of videos online of silent discos. So that's the elusiveness for me, right? Goes UFOs, Bigfoot, silent discos, right?
That order.
And then the QTV intro.
Yes.
The QTV intro for everybody else. Well, here we are talking about nothing about video games because that's what we do at the intro for the QTV podcast. But we do try and figure out, how do we segue into video games? And the easiest way to do that is, what's everybody been playing? So, Nick, I know you always ask me and everybody first. Let's flip the script. What?
Aw, that's nice.
Let's flip the script. What have you been playing?
What have I been playing?
Okay,
I can answer that.
On?
I've been playing a lot of video games, man. Our TikTok has just been absolutely glowing there. We launched our subscriptions there on TikTok recently, and we're already up. We just celebrated 50 subs. Huge in just less than 2 weeks. Just an amazing community that is forming there. We're playing Fall Guys. We're playing. People go crazy for the Power Wash Simulator games. I'm telling you, people are telling me now because I get in close to the mic and I use my low, quiet ASMR voice, and we turn off the alerts and it's a healing environment, And so it's nice. And so, people are telling me, Nick, I put on your stream and, fall asleep to it. And I'm like, any other situation, I'd be offended by that. But, okay.
No, that's amazing.
What you want. Yeah.
That's what my wife says to me anytime she listens to me talk about video games. She's like, you just put me to sleep. So I'll sit there at night and I'll be like, in today's video game news, we're going to be talking about G4 TV and the EA debacle that continues to show itself.
Okay, Derry.
You're listening to NPR.
I knew it. I knew it was coming.
I'm Derry Moobles.
There's Derry. We talk about Derry as much as we talk about Terry.
Derry Moobles for QTV.
He needs his own segment. Yeah. Terry.
Terry Burble segment. I love it.
Terry Burble's NPR segment. Here
we could totally get him on this podcast.
We'll
I guarantee you he's available. Yeah.
Can we get an update on poutine from him? This is poutine.
Rah, that's poutine. Okay. But, so we did launch one new thing this week, which was Retro Thursdays. And I started playing, I kicked it off with Mario 64. And I'm not looking to low-key brag here, but when I launched that stream, my intention was maybe a 2-part episode, 2 Thursdays in a row. But we got about 4.5 hours into the stream, and I realized I had 68 stars. You only need 70 to beat it. And so I'm like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and call it a game. I get the last 2. I beat Mario 64 top to bottom in under 5 hours. I wasn't trying to speedrun it. I'm actually pretty proud of that one.
Hey!
Yeah.
Wow.
Now that is an achievement right there. I was watching some guy play play what was it, Mario 64 on Facebook, and he was like doing a speed run on the very last level with Bowser, and you know those like jumps that you can do when you like go halfway up the ramp and then go over into the oh my gosh,
Just
I
insane.
tell you, I struggled so much as a kid, and then watching that guy do it in less than 5 minutes, I'm like, okay, well that was fun. Like,
oh, and forget, I don't care what the speedrunner advanced tactics they're using to beat the game faster. I had a handicap. I used this controller right here. Okay, we went old school. We went old school. In 64 all the way.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's not an advantage. It's just me. It's rose-colored glasses. You know, when you're holding that thing, you're like, oh yeah, this was my life.
Yep. Because back in the 90s, we had 3 hands. That's how that worked.
So.
Yep. It was around 9/11 that we all decided to chop off that third arm, and I think that that's pretty much what happened. So,
I guess so.
I think,
I don't know what happened.
I think all my controllers have that white powder in that little joystick area.
Oh yeah, that's
from too much.
It wasn't even gunk. It was just like it was the plastic disintegrating.
It's dead skin. That's fun.
Along with the blisters on your hand, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. Well, that's what I got though. Brad, what's gaming been like for you, man?
Getting back into Overwatch. Been playing some Overwatch 2 lately, and been checking out kind of the new characters, the new they've kind of rebalanced some old characters with some new abilities. They've kind of shifted things around. So yeah,
of course he's ready.
For some, and I've been playing some new characters that I didn't play in the first go. So I've been getting heavy into Roadhog, Lucio, and actually I think Symmetra's got a little bit more versatility than in the original. So seeing a lot more Symmetra players that are actually effective here in Overwatch 2. So been enjoying. It's been a nice change of pace. Although I'm excited for tonight. Hop on. Fortnitemares just came out today. So it's the best, in my opinion, it's the best time of year for Fortnite. So Halloween, the best skins, the best events. Now's the time. Hop on. Fortnitemares launched today, and I can't wait to get into that.
I am ready.
Speaking of which, Bruno, before we get to what you played this week, you're mentioning a Halloween event there, Brad. And actually, we've got some breaking news here we're going to announce here on the podcast, which is that we are being featured by TikTok Live for their upcoming Halloween Gamers Lounge. The event's going to be, it's going to be spooky, okay? Because we are going to be playing... We're going to be playing Luigi's Mansion 3. I'm going to be on there in costume. I haven't decided what my costume is yet, but we'll find out. Whatever the spirit of Halloween has, if I'm being honest. But no, I'm green screened. I can't be Luigi. Maybe I should still do it. The Phantom of Luigi.
Yeah, I was going to say you will be. Yeah.
Yeah, and
that's true. You couldn't even do blue because
you couldn't do not much. Yeah. So from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern on this Saturday, we are going to be featured there on TikTok. QTB will be the featured gaming live stream creator for their Gamers Lounge event. And I mean, it's going to be a little spooky. I'm not going to lie. So spooky, in fact, that I think we need a jingle for it, Bruno.
Hey.
Oh, yeah. Get it. Brad's so scared.
Wow.
Amazing stuff. But looking forward to that. Bruno, what are you playing, man?
You debuted that live for us.
We
that
did.
was amazing. We've not heard that. So that was that was live, okay?
Got that
you
out
heard
right
it.
Quick. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I don't even know how to top that with anything. I have been playing, I've been jumping back into Forza Horizon and kind of cruising around in between playing Overwatch with Brad. I'm not much to play a lot of these shooters and stuff alone. I feel like sometimes it can be lonely out there. And if I'm going to be lonely, I'm just going to drive around alone, because that's, a little easier to do by yourself, right? But yeah, I mean, I went through the Forza Horizon store. Go ahead.
I would say, Bruno, you found your new Overwatch character, though. You have to tell everyone about that.
I did. Sojourn. Yeah, I am ready with Sojourn. It's kind of like a mix between Moira meets Zarya meets Soldier. And I'm like, okay, I dig the mobility and the firepower. I did realize that you can't use Sojourn like for every map, so there is some, I had to switch back to my default Junkrat tactics, and I'm a diva main, of course.
Yeah.
So one of the best Junkrats in the game, definitely, and probably like the third best diva out there. So
at least,
at least.
But for a new character, you've been able to pick that one up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm excited, and you've been trying out new characters as well with Sigma, the new tank. So with a lot of new characters, you're right. I think Brad mentioned Symmetra kind of having this, resurgence or revitalization. I don't think it was anything that they did to her character. I think it was more so the surrounding things that they did with the game that kind of helped prop her up. The 5-on-5 is a different dynamic. It's a different feeling for Overwatch over something like the 6v6. I will say we need to get Bastion back in there. There's still some things that are missing to kind of counter some of these tanks. And I think with him added to the game, that's definitely going to change things around. So hopefully,
especially with them nerfing Torbjorn's turret. His turret is just absolute garbage now.
Oh yeah, I used to be a pretty decent Torbjorn as well, and now I feel like my man just got, he was already at a disadvantage because of his height, and now you're going to nerf him again, right?
Now, Bruno, I do want to point out, though, we have a great suggestion from one of our viewers, 14 there in the YouTube chat, is suggesting that you should try and play any shooter with the racing rig on stream. I would watch that stream. Any game,
really
just name the game. Yeah,
I've seen that one guy do it with the recorder, and that
just shoot like with Widowmaker as a sniper.
Yeah, because he'll be like, oh.
I saw the bullet.
And he like fires a bullet. There's nothing funnier than hearing a recorder playing off-key note,
getting a headshot. Yeah. So
that's
funny.
That's a great idea. I am gonna try that.
Yes.
If it's available. See, they don't let you. We gotta talk to Xbox, because you'd think that you'd be able to use the wheel in any game, maybe on PC, but not in console. Like it's a developer thing kind of that they have to, or Microsoft. I don't know. They always blame each other. Right. They're always blaming each other, saying it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. And I got news for you, Nick. It's nobody's fault, because we're just gonna go ahead and hard segue. There we go.
There we go. He was looking for that segue. That's why I usually go last. Oh my gosh! And I'll tell you, if you're looking for additional comedy, maybe in the form of a movie, how would you like a free $50 Fandango gift card? You can get it with the Spooky Collection that's currently available on the Winner Winner Live Arcade. Get into the spooky spirit, and if you can collect all 8 of the frightfully fun prizes, hard to say, in the limited time collection, you're going to score a free $50 Fandango gift card for the ultimate scary movie night. And here's the deal, that's so good, it is scary. Your win is free. Your first win, you get to play until you win for free when you download with our link. And if you use the promo code DALE when recharging your tokens at pay.app.winnerwinner.com, link is in our show notes, you will get a sweet deal with those 30% free bonus tokens on your next purchase. The link is in the description. And Bruno, I think now, and Brad, I think now is as good of a time as any to announce the big thing that is happening for us, because we have a very special event with Winner Winner. And as the head cheese of QTB, Bruno, why don't you tell them what's happening here in the second week in November?
Oh my goodness. We got something big planned, guys. We are going to be heading out to Las Vegas to the Winner headquarters and filming some special content out there, as well as getting to meet the team behind this amazing app and sponsorship. We are very, very excited about this opportunity, and it's just going to be a really, really fun time. We're going to be doing a live podcast for everyone. So I mean, it's gonna be pretty amazing to finally be together in one room. This will be the first time, right?
It's hard to believe, Brad. It'll be the first time you and I have actually met in person.
I mean, wow.
Hard to believe.
I hope our fans are ready. Who knows what could happen?
I mean, Vegas better look out. That's right. But yeah, I mean, this has been something in the works here for a while, and we're really excited to be able to announce it because, yeah, you know, Bruno, we haven't, you know, we always talk about being childhood friends in our you know our podcast description, that kind of thing, and we certainly were. But it's been over 10 years since we've seen each other in person, probably longer. So this will be the first time, that all three of the QTB executive crew there will be in one spot, and a lot of fun content, like Bruno said. Our network partners are going to be live streaming. We got Kung Fu Penguin, Enzo is Mad. They're going to be doing live streams of Winner that we're going to be interacting with them from the Winner headquarters in Vegas, and you know, and some fun on the road, right, Brad? Some arcade. You never know what kind of social media content's going to pop up.
I mean, anything is fair game. It's Vegas. What happens in Vegas will be on TikTok.
Almost instantly.
Right? I mean,
exactly. Too much fun.
Or at the very least, it will be on Reddit, and somebody will message that to somebody else, and then you'll be wondering what happened.
Yes.
What
I do know is that if you end up on World Star Hip Hop, something went very wrong.
Right?
That's where all the videos show up that that no one else will take. Oh man. Okay. Well, on that note, hey, you know, this is a very interesting story, and one that I think a lot of us saw coming. The big story is compliments of IGN here, and it is about G4. The article, G4 is being shut down less than a year after it launched. And, you know, guys, we have had commentary on the past about G4. One of our network bloggers, Justin, who's been on the podcast recently, did an article on our blog about the revival of G4 and his excitement because he was a diehard fan of the original G4.
It's the QTV Spooktacular. Luigi's Mansion gameplay will occur.
And you know, less than
gift sounds will be heard. Come join the QTV Spooktacular
on the air. In various forms, Twitch, YouTube, and their Pluto TV channel, I believe it was on. They completely and abruptly shut down everything, so much so that most of the people that were working there found out about it at home on Sunday when they were supposed to find out on Monday because that press release had leaked. And I mean, I think there's a very, very lengthy conversation here to be had about all the different facets of G4, why it failed, and of course, the infamous rant that we'll get into that many people believe was the beginning of the end for this attempted relaunch. Bruno, I mean, you know, from your perspective, you know, did you grow up with G4? Did you have any attachment to it? And did this version, like, you know, whet your appetite at all for gaming content?
I think not really. I was one of the first people that I know of that kind of pulled the cable plug. I did so back in 2007. Like right around when Netflix and Hulu first launched, I was like, yep, I'm done with cable. I'll get whatever I need from these two sources. And I didn't do that because I was like, oh, look at me, Mr. Trendsetter. I did it because I was, you know, poor as hell. So, but, you know, I think that it's, you know, for me not having access to it on something like cable and back then you got to realize that this was like when extended cable was like DirecTV. I think you had to have like some of the special channels to initially have G4 G4 TV, and then they brought it to like, you know, regular cable or whatever. So, you know, it's not something that I am particularly like, you know, super fond of, but I will say they did pave the way for other gaming content. I just think that their approach was a little off kilter of where gaming is, right? Like gaming isn't on cable network television. It's done on the YouTubes and the Twitches and the interwebs, right? So I think that was kind of a misfire on that. So it didn't really bother me when they were like, we're shutting down. I was like, oh, that's kind of, you know, kind of sucks because there were some good clips. But I think that was kind of that start, right? Like of the clip feature, you know, the clip culture that we have now where people are just like, oh, check out this clip from this show. I feel like I get a lot of that from Jimmy Fallon. I don't need to watch the late night show. I'll just follow him on Facebook and get the clips and segments that I actually want to watch with no commercials. So I feel like, you know, they really could have gone that way and done something really special with that. That's not exactly how it went. Brad, what about you? G4, is that something that you were excited to see, or did it really, you know, I mean, what were you hoping in a return like that, right?
It feels a bit I feel like there's always a window of time where you should capitalize on something, and I feel like that window had passed. As much as there was an interest in revival and bringing something back, I think when you go that long without something, even if you have a core audience who's like, yeah, I'll come back to that, and it doesn't materialize quickly into what you thought it would be or what you would want it to be, it doesn't end up being what you'd hope for. You know, I'm kind of looking at this from the business aspect. You know, it's really interesting to see such a rapid shutdown. Usually the writing's on the wall. People internally know that something's coming. The fact that there's low interest or the financials are not working out should be indicative to not just one person or the head honcho. People should know they're struggling. The fact that this came kind of out of left field is surprising in the sense that people were so surprised, and even people in the company were finding out via social media that they were losing their job. So that to me tells me something else was going on behind the scenes that we don't know fully, that there maybe wasn't enough financial backing to give this enough time to maybe catch its feet, you know, get in the ground and get off running. Because it's not even been a year. Usually you give you know, I look at sports, I look at different industries, you know, head coaches get 2-3 years, different platforms get 2-3 years. I mean, this was less than a year. So it feels in some ways a little bit aggressive to shut it down so rapidly. I mean, Nick, what do you think?
Well, okay, there's a lot of inside baseball here that a lot of the staff are now revealing since there's nothing to lose. And one of the things that I think I'll get into first is it was never going to work. Okay, and this is my honest take on the reboot of G4. There was no business model that was going to make it work. Let's go back to the year 2000 when cable TV was one of the only ways that you could consume any kind of content about specific topics, right? Thank you. We're going all the way back to the original launch of G4 and its anchor shows Attack of the Show and X-Play. And when G4 was out, right, and you had it in your cable lineup, if you were someone that was interested in video games and you wanted to pursue media that followed it, your options were magazines, the occasional video game theme show on some network show, right, that usually wasn't good and usually didn't last long. And then, if you wanted actual news, reviews, that kind of thing, it was almost always going to be a magazine, right? You know, if I wanted to get a review on a game before I was going to purchase it as a kid or a teenager, I had to wait for the Game Informer review, and even then, I'm only relying on the opinion of a single person. So when
you have multiple platforms, like, oh, I don't like Kotaku, I'm a Polygon guy, or I prefer IGN, or you know, whatever, GameSpot, you know. Doesn't matter. Like you either got Game Informer or you got the actual magazine like Nintendo Power,
right,
or the PlayStation magazine, right, where we knew they were gonna give a glowing review to their own game. So
now, when G4 initially was beginning to wind down, it was kind of just a husk of what it was. Most of the major talent had already departed the network at that point. We were already beginning to move into the digital era of content creation. You know, YouTube was in its infancy, but it was very much there. And now we are at a point when this network launched in 2021, where anybody with a camera and a computer and an internet connection can create long form, short form, you name it, video game content. Right now, any game that I'm interested in, I can type into YouTube, and I am going to get tens of thousands of videos, many of which are highly produced by people with studios, by people with a professional editor behind the scenes, oftentimes in a very efficient manner. Think about this. Most of the big YouTube channels that you watch, that do like video essay style formats or reviews of games, typically it's one person, maybe a second host, and then an editor, and if they're really big, maybe a social media person. A lot of these outfits, they operate in a very lean way, especially in the gaming industry. And those solo channels were taking G4 to school on how to put out content. Yeah, even I mean, honestly.
Yeah. And that was just gonna say that, Nick. Looking back at this, that's what Brad mentioned. He said, how did they not see this coming? Anybody who looked at their social media numbers saw this coming. And Nick and I had this conversation several months ago when we noticed their views tanking after the infamous Frost rant, and we'll get to that in a minute. And that occurred in January. So from January of this year, there's been a steady decline of viewership from G4. And the staff at G4 kind of doubled down and said, if you don't like what we have to say, then don't watch us. Well, you don't play chicken with gamers, because gamers have nothing to lose and they will abandon ship at any given, moment, especially at the hest of those producing the content that they're consuming, right? Like if you're telling a gamer, you might as well just get over it because this isn't happening, then they'll move on from that. They're not going to stick around and say, oh, but we want to try and make it better or this or that. No, if you're not happy, move on. And gamers did that. And I think that alienating and kind of pitting yourself against your community is never going to work out for you. It's something that, to me just seemed like, I don't know, how are you going to attack the one group of people that watch your content? And you're right, Nick. How is a content like that ever going to work with huge production values and little to no return on investment?
And she kind of dug herself even further. She posted kind of a tone deaf tweet as they were laying off people that she had survived. And if you read it, if you could read into it, that it was about that. So, I mean, I just wanted to add that in there, that there's a continued pattern of behavior that probably turned off a large portion of the gaming base that was following them initially.
Yeah. Oh,
so for those of you who don't know what happened, basically, one of the hosts of G4, Frosk, that's what she goes by, Frosk. She posted a video, kind of decided to basically, have a rant right on the show about her dealings with the G4 community. Now, the community was a little upset at the lack of return of certain people that made G4 initially what it was. Most notably, Olivia Munn was on the list, the short list of people who weren't returning, right? We got Adam Sessler, but Olivia Munn didn't return. And she was a big fan, obviously.
And Morgan Webb, I think, too,
correct.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I said, it was a short list.
Yeah.
But she was huge with gamers, not just because she was pretty, but because she was funny. And she was very likable. She was a very likable person. And that's kind of the key here, right? You know, you've got to be a likable person. I don't really think that you can say that that your looks are the number one reason why your community is no longer watching you. Right. I think that might be something that people could eventually get over. Obviously, it happens all the time. It happened with Naomi Kyle from IGN. Moving on, and so I think that the community wasn't berating her in any, you know, more in any way more than what trolls of communities already do. But she decided to kind of take it upon herself to start this rant and basically belittle the community. You know, like we were talking about, there's a short list of people that were calling for, you know, Olivia and saying that they didn't really like Frost or whatever. For the most part, people just didn't like her personality. She's very combative. She kind of belittled the community that made G4 TV. And at the very end, you know, she said something which I thought was completely out of touch, which was, you know, she said, women don't exist for you to be ogled at, you know, in that respect. And I get where she's coming from, but I also know from working in the media that is 100% false. For you to say that your looks play no part in you getting an anchor position on a news show or anything like that is completely wrong, or your personality in
regardless
general.
of gender.
Regardless of gender, right? Like, you know, people want to watch pretty people. So, you know, I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying that that's the way you should do things. I'm not saying I'm the most beautiful face on podcast television, right? Okay.
But that's why we got Brad. That's why we brought him on as the third. We needed the looks.
We got Brad. We needed the eye candy. There you go, ladies. There he is. Okay. Yeah. But no, seriously, I think it was a very, very out of touch rant that basically alienated the entire community instead of really focusing in on the problem. Like I said, if you don't believe me that women's looks play a part in it, I suggest you watch the movie Bombshell by Adam McKay. You know, it dives deep into that of what women have had to deal with, you know, in terms of wardrobe and stuff like that for being on the news, whereas men can sit there and, you know, wrap up in an entire suit, but a woman's got to wear, you know, a short dress to get views and ratings for a news show. A news show. I understand one portion of it, but like I said, when you attack
who knows,
your audience,
who knows what behind the scenes pressure they may be under to put on that image, right? If there's other things going on in the media right now that we've seen, appearances may not be all they're cracked up to be, especially when it comes to, you know, streamers and what's going on in the world right now. So
that's a good observation. Yeah, you never know quite what's happening behind the scenes with a lot of your favorite content creators. But you know, I totally get where you're approaching this from, Bruno. It's just, you know, even if we wanted to keep diving into, you know, that specific rant and that you know, Frost is notorious for being just a very toxic person, like Brad had mentioned, gloated about the fact that she wasn't laid off after that first round of layoffs occurred. Ended up,
I think it was more of it was a gloat of like, haha, I'm still here even though you guys think I'm ugly. You know, and that's kind of what it was. If you go back to the original rant, you know, fast forward, you know, to September, right when these layoffs happened. And, you know, a lot of these people didn't know that they were getting laid off. Same thing with the news most recently over the weekend. Some content creators through G4 TV found out through the tweet that they were losing their job. And so, you know, that's a very, very rough thing to see trending and see that you've lost your job before you even get word from the CEO. But you're right. Like, you know, to say that she wasn't, I don't want to say she was the main cause, but she was definitely the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right. It accelerated things for sure.
100%.
Because a lot of your legacy, not only did she put that rant out, but then, and she says in a tweet later that she got permission from the producers to do it. It wasn't just an off the cuff thing. No one has corroborated that claim, but it is what it is now. But also the fact that G4 consciously clipped it and put it out as its own thing. So there very much was support behind that. And the last thing I'll say about this is that, you know, it is a topic that certainly should be addressed in the gaming industry as a whole, just like many other industries, okay? There are some valid points there. But, you know, our approach at QTB, I think, is what really G4 could have gone for with the right talent.
Exactly.
Which is that gaming should be a source of relaxation, and your vibe attracts your tribe. So when you create a community of gamers and you put out a certain atmosphere of we want to be family friendly, or we want to promote inclusion, tolerance, that kind of thing, which we very much do here. You know, that is, you lead by example, and you let your audience find you. And the people that don't want to watch it, as Frost said, won't watch it because you're putting out content they don't want, that they no longer have interest in. That osmosis will naturally occur. You cannot cater to the vocal minority of trolls that exist very much and want to get you upset in these types of scenarios. Now, that being said, I want to get back to my original point, which is that the financials of this network would have never, ever worked. Comcast gave them I don't know if you've seen the studio space that they had. It was huge. I mean, they had probably a half dozen sets. They had a massive open like office area. It was like the whole floor of this huge building. So on top of that, I'm sure the overhead was unbelievable. Then you pile on the fact that there are reports coming in that they were paying certain influencers in the video game space, like Alana Pierce or Jeff Keighley, $25,000 plus to come on for basically a day pass and just create content with them on the various shows throughout the day. Now, their YouTube videos were getting maybe like 3,000 to 5,000 videos each, or I'm sorry, views each. Now, you know, we're in the YouTube Partner Program, so we definitely know that you are not paying anything with those kind of views. Yeah, exactly. That's the sound that Excel makes when you balance that spreadsheet. Here's how big the red number is. And there was really no other monetization system outside of merch and maybe some premium services here and there. There was never going to be a way.
No.
When you have reportedly
that
200 people working for G4, there was no way that you were going to be able to put out any kind of business model that was sustainable. End of story.
No, I agree. I agree. Brad, I mean, you're a business guy. Do you think that, I mean, obviously scaling down, it would have been the first key. You know, all of rants aside and everything, what do you think they could have realistically done to make a successful launch? Or do you think it was doomed from the start because of the ecosystem that we're currently in?
I think it's more the latter. I think Nick kind of hit on a couple big points. When you get this much interest in a revival that's been gone for so long, and you get a network who's passionate about wanting to bring it back, and they throw that much resources at it, money, you know, infrastructure, you know, and a commitment to bring back people on one house at such a high cost, it's very low likelihood that that's going to show you the returns that the stakeholders want to see. I mean, you almost kind of needed to go with the reverse approach, get your core group together and let the content start to evolve organically again. And then let those people, like, you know, the people who declined to come back initially, let them see that the success of this come back, and then them come in and then want to, and it grows back to what it was. I think when you throw all your eggs into one basket at one time, and you put all your money into it, and you get such an overhead to overcome on a return on investment so quickly, there's very low likelihood that you're going to see what you want and the stakeholders are going to be happy. So I think Nick really kind of got at the point there. And I agree with him that that's really, regardless of what you rants or content or what was put out, the financials were just not there.
Yep.
I think we can button up this conversation with the QTB live poll that we just put on our live stream here for this podcast, which is, did you watch the reboot of G4? Like anything at all, even once? And we only had 28% of our viewers that are gamers say yes. So I mean, that's that really is the icing on the cake of you're not even able to reach that niche audience, at least as far as the big players like Comcast are concerned.
Hey Nick, you know where money is well spent? I'll
Oh
tell you where
my
money is well
gosh.
spent. Not on that, on our Patreon. Tell them about it, Nick.
You look, man. My hats. If I had a hat, I'd take it off for you, because you've come a long way with the Segway game. That was nice. Yes, thank you so much to our Patreon supporters, like our QTB and Fuego supporters, Epicapture Productions, Matt.Bat, and Alexa, and our QTB Plus supporters, Nick, the Dudist Monk, Indie Gamiacs, Alan Abadessa, Mr. Grove Games, the Intergalactic Pinecone, Fluffy Bunny, and Kawaii Potato. If you would like access to the extended versions of our podcast, both in video and audio form, including our pre-show and pre-show, oh, it gets crazy there. Every now and then Brad just, goes off camera, and in the pre-show, maybe you'll find out where he went. I don't know. Also, you get access to our QTB Nostalgia Vault bonus podcast. That's always a good time. This month we're talking about Rock Band and Guitar Hero. All the plastic molded controllers of yore will be on discussion. Thank you so much for your support at patreon.com/quitthebuild. Boy, if there's one thing that we've got, we've gotten that whole Patreon plug just unlocked.
Oh yeah,
can't beat
it.
That's
Chef's
it.
kiss.
That's exactly right. That's right. Even 14 said, great segue. Also, Fluffy Bunny saying we need more Brad's beer segment. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. It's we got the gaming themed beers. Did we run out? Oh,
Too late for this episode.
That's great stuff. Well, I'll tell you what's too late for some gamers as well, and Brad, and that's going to be our next story.
Oh.
Talking about I'm trying. Look, I'm trying to keep up with the segues. The student becomes the master. From GameRant.com about EA is shutting down servers for quite a slew of games. They have announced a fan favorite Mirror's Edge, as well as some other games as well, including one of the newer versions of NBA Jam. Will be shut off at some point between Q4 of this year and Q1 of 2023. And, one of the things about this story that we have to consider is that most of the services that are being shut down, well, that there is that, yes. The whole saying they don't make them like they used to, it seems like it comes around a lot faster than it should these days. Back in my day, we had GTA 4 and it, and we liked it. That's been that long.
Just the fact that we're finally at the point where we're seeing games kind of hit that online graveyard, right? Where the physical game itself doesn't necessarily die, but the online community or servers that support that community are dying. I remember when Halo 2, got the kibosh, right? That was a sad day when the servers went offline for that. Little did we know that in the future it would be, it would return with the Master Chief Collection. But still, anytime and that's the same for a lot of these games, right? It's not to say that we won't see something like that in the future, a collection of some sort or a new game. But sad day whenever any game is limited by the servers that support it, right, Brad?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think it begs the question, right? Do these server shutdowns coincide with a game being delisted or not, right? I think that's always the next question, right? Is it just going to limit your access to leaderboards or the community, or is it, EA has a past of delisting many of its games, but will this that tends to go with expiring licenses, like for the sports games or the racing games, more so than these online servers being taken down or shut down. But you wonder, what's the likelihood of these being moved to that next level of delisting? So definitely just a sad day, and it, you feel for the fans and the core community who have built a lot of their memories and time spent playing these games and are losing a piece of that now as these server shutdowns continue to happen.
Sure. I mean, the conversation that we've had many times on this show about game preservation, right? It always comes up anytime that a game getting shut down or whatever. And I think this kind of reignites that topic, right? So to answer your question there, Brad, most of these games are not being delisted, but there are core online functions that may have been, supplementary to the game. But for the most part, these games remain in a playable state. Like Mirror's Edge, for example, they're taking down the servers that run the time trial leaderboards, which were a very competitive scene there with the free running. And, so that's one thing and there are achievements. Like now you won't be able to get those achievements if you don't, get them before a certain date. So it varies in terms of how much content is being lost. And you're right, Bruno, that there are games that, they get taken down, but then they find a revival because they have a big enough audience and the publisher is still around that has the rights to it to say, you know what, let's bring it back in some way. But a lot of the cult classics or the smaller games don't always get that luxury. It does happen sometimes.
Yeah.
And the problem becomes, we're now seeing these 2010 era games that had some kind of live service component attached to them. That those live service components are getting shut down while the game continues to operate. And the thing is that, when we talk about retro gaming that we grew up with, right? I can hop into Mario 64, Pilot Wing 64, whatever. I can play the game originally as I remember it. If I really wanted to go all out, I could get the retro tech and really go that extra route, right? I'm never going to have to worry about there being a piece of it that's gone. There were online games back in the day, don't get me wrong, but they were fewer and way further between.
Oh
but
my gosh!
now,
Could you? I mean,
yeah.
The back in the day,
Yeah.
he means like you had to have an adapter, and you might play with like a pool of like 15 other people, like because who really had the full internet connection and stuff? It was a very wishful thinking for PlayStation and Sega to include. Those built-in modem things, or that type of thing, so you could, or adapters so you could get them. But nowadays a little bit easier than
sure.
It
did happen,
just pop
though.
on just pop on and we're automatically connected, right? And I know where you were going, Nick. I know exactly where you're going. I can read minds. You're going on today's landscape of always online games. See, that's the problem that we hit, and that's, I think, why the community gets so upset when we hear things like, you must be connected to the internet in order to enjoy this experience, because it reminds us that there's a shelf life on this game, that the servers won't be up forever. If a game is presented to you with a full single player experience, then you'll be able to play that indefinitely in the future. But if it requires online play, then it's very likely that you'll see that disappear. Now, the question is, obviously, with the list of games here, who really cares? You know what I mean? Like a few people, and I don't think that I'll be honest. Like who cares? Like, they try and make these stories a little bit bigger than they really are. And I'll say, okay, if you're out there and you're like, well, I care because I post speed runs on the leaderboards of Mirror's Edge. Well, congratulations. There's this whole community built around speed running, and you can still actually support that through these websites like that. You post a video of that. Welcome to old school gaming. We talked about this a few weeks ago with Galaxy what is it, Galaxy Games
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm taking personal offense to that, Bruno. I love my Command and Conquer 3. Okay, Tiberium Wars. You need to tone it down over there.
You need to recognize, okay? That is a fan
Sassy.
favorite. Everybody is sad about that when we were all collectively
Kane's wrath.
shocked.
Kane's wrath will come your way and get you, okay?
I'm
gonna get that big tower and shoot a laser beam at you.
That's right. Orbital strike. Here it comes.
Here it comes.
Thank you.
So, for me, I don't think the average person is going to be too upset about this. It's kind of bummed to see like something like NBA Jam where, you can have a lot more fun playing with co-op with somebody. But like we said, this is one aspect of the game. The game still functions as a game itself, so you can still get on there and play it. Some online features are just being removed. And I think that for gamers, it's important to remember that there's always a shelf life on a live service game. The Fortnite will eventually, one day.
Can there be a shelf life on Genji? Sorry, quick sidebar. I can't stand Genji. Sorry. Can there be a shelf life on that? I mean,
what a
dude is the
hard
bane of my
segue.
existence. Like,
You have the
I
floor,
mean, sorry.
sir. Yeah.
Like, I mean,
I know.
if you're saying people don't care, let's shift to a topic that people care about. Genji is a pain in my butt. Let's just say that. He didn't get nerfed. He got, like, buffed. He is annoying as you can't believe, and that character needs to go away. So for all you Genji mains out there, I apologize, but find a new character. Genji's going to get retired. We need to get rid of it. Like,
okay.
And for that matter, take his brother Hanzo with him too. I mean, let's
just take them both. To get the Shimada brothers out of here.
But,
the dragons can fly off into space. I mean, so.
Get them out of here! Whoa! Wow!
Every now and
then. Speaking of Overwatch, right? That's a perfect example, actually, Brad, because think about Overwatch 2 versus Overwatch 1, right? You can't go back and play the vanilla Overwatch anymore. Your Overwatch 2 is what it is. That's the game. And if you don't like it, then guess what? You're out of luck. There's nothing you can do about it because that game is now, different. It's changed. And maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. You could say the same thing about Fortnite, right? Yeah. Fortnite Season 1 is not what Fortnite Season Chapter 3 Season 1 is. It's completely we're completely different games here. I mean, quite literally. Fortnite when it first started versus now could not be polar opposites. So, and that's why I've constantly said to people, if you don't like a game, especially a live service game, give it some time.
Right.
Give it some time. Hopefully the developers are listening. Hopefully they're taking the proper feedback to kind of move the game forward and progress in a way that makes everyone happy, instead of a way where people are just falling off the wagon and never returning. Because if that happens, then you get the online graveyard that is EA, right? Nobody's playing this game. We've got three or four people per month maybe checking this out. They've got the numbers. They know. They know how much space that's taking up, right? We've got to make space for more Madden, obviously. The people want to play Madden 08 through Madden 22.
The next roster update's a doozy, I tell you.
Yeah, which is surprising.
What do you mean Tom Brady's back in? Geez. Better free up the server.
Oh, my God. He's back? Yeah, that didn't last long.
He has a whole server room. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're very good points, Bruno. And we will continue to have this conversation. But yeah, I think that's you hit the nail on the head there, is that we're heading into that territory now where the games of today, when people 20 years down the road want to go back and experience them, and people be like, oh yeah, Chapter 1, Season 4 of Fortnite, that was my favorite season, and there's just no way to go back and recapture that moment in time. The term FOMO is overused a lot in the gaming industry right now with live service games, but I think that really is a FOMO of if you don't make those memories, if you don't get that media, you need that Fortnite scrapbook, of those moments in time that are just going to be lost to the ages, because what people will remember as Fortnite is whatever its final, incarnation is.
Yeah, like like a vault, you will, a nostalgia vault, vault. That's right. We talk about nostalgic video games that you can play from now until forever, hopefully via just the classic retros that are out there. But the Nostalgia Vault is something that we like to do for our Patreon, where we have another podcast where we basically kind of dive into things from our childhood, from the 90s, whether it's games or TV shows, movies, books even. Just the things that we love to remember. And I feel bad for the kids of today, because those nostalgia bits won't be, like you said, Nick, they won't be decades long or years long. It will be moments long, months long of that type of FOMO. So
that's a shame, isn't it? It's a real shame. Like, you think about that for a second, Brad. Like, if I go over, and it happens all the time, you boot up an old N64 game or you see a retro game in its original form and that nostalgia hits you. It's that warm, fuzzy feeling of just you're transported back into your childhood living room. Exactly. Bruno knows. And I think it actually is really, really sad that future generations won't be able to experience that form of nostalgia, because a lot of things have to happen in sequence for it to even be a concept. Yeah.
I have nothing else to add. You summed it up perfectly.
There you go. Right. Well, I'll tell you where else we can sum things up, and that's by summing up whatever's in your cart at quitthebuild.com/merch. You gonna check out with that Christmas sweater yet? They sell out fast. Absolutely, guys. Make sure to stop by our website. I'm talking about quitthebuild.com, okay? It's got everything you need. We're talking about merchandise, t-shirts, sweaters. We've got the tote bags. We've got the, what don't we have? The pop sockets, okay? Get one for yourself, get one for a friend. And like I said, the Christmas sweater, the ugly sweater, is in stock right now. And when the holiday season rolls around, you know how shipping gets, okay? Yeah, now is the time to act. And, of course, go to our amazing blog. We got lots of cool stories on there from today, yesterday, retrospectives, game reviews. Go check that out. And go to our community page. Find out about our Discord, all of our socials. We got Discord Lord Terry there on Discord holding things down. And one of the best, most wholesome, inclusive, and positive communities in gaming. We're talking about the QTB podcast. The producer just called Brad and said, ship it out, and ship it we shall. Bruno, what do you got for the people?
Man, that was amazing, Nick. Just keep this vibe, keep it going. For all the people out there on YouTube, podcasting, everywhere, we love you. For Nick and Brad, I'm Bruno.
For Bruno and Brad, I'm Nick.
And for Nick and Bruno, I'm Brad.
Peace out. What it do?
Quit the Build.